I'll start off by giving a brief explanation of what Jujutsu Kaisen is. So do me a favor and close your eyes for a second. Now imagine a world in which invisible beings live among us, and these beings exist because of an accumulation of negative energy in the world. We'll call these beings cursed spirits, and their goal is to honestly just bring harm to humanity, which in turn makes them targets. Targeted by whom, you ask? Ninjas, duh. But for real though, they're actually targeted by Jujutsu sorcerers. And these sorcerers fight these cursed spirits using cursed energy, which they manipulate to not only see these curses, but also activate their techniques. Each sorcerer utilizes their unique techniques to exorcise these spirits that prey on humanity. Most techniques that they use are innate, but some are learned. But the pinnacle of Jujutsu mastery is called the domain expansion. But I'm not gonna get too deep into that though, because it can get really complicated. And I mean really complicated. But yeah, the series pretty much explores how these characters not only interact with these cursed spirits, but also how they interact with each other. And these interactions are pretty hostile, meaning there's a whole lot of fighting. And today, we're going to be talking about a character who recently became the epitome of what it means to throw hands. Maki Zenin. So who's Maki Zenin? A fucking badass. That's who. But before we can get to why she's such a badass, let's start at the beginning, where we first see her within the show. So the first scene we see with Maki is when she shows up with her fellow second-year classmates, Toge Inumaki and Panda. They come across some first-year students who are mourning the death of their friend, who also happens to be the protagonist, Yuji Itadori. During her conversation with one of the students named Megami, she comes off as bossy and rude, but honestly, she's just misunderstood. Misunderstood? What do you mean? Let me explain. The only thing that matters within Jujutsu society is power. And when it comes to Maki, she's physically strong, but she's also kinda ass. I know it doesn't make sense for me to say that, but listen. She's not able to see any cursed spirits, and she also has a tiny amount of cursed energy. Like, she's on some Rock Lee, Mike Guy level type of timing, where it's just straight hands and she's beating the dog shit out of you. But the funny thing is, even though she's physically very strong, she doesn't really move the needle until... And how did she get to that level of strength? Well...
Let me talk to you!
So Maki was born into the ruthless Zenin Clan, which is one of the 3 elite bloodlines in JJK. And what they pride themselves on is their inherited cursed techniques. And because of this, they think very lowly of people with little to no cursed energy. And unfortunately for Maki, when she was born, she basically had a rare involuntary vow called a heavenly restriction placed on her by fate itself, which traded all of her cursed energy for brute strength. This should have made her insanely strong, but something went wrong. Twins in JJK are one soul split into 2 parts, meaning their potential is divided. So no matter how hard she trained, her potential was capped. There is one guy though who had this same restriction. Enter Toji Zenin. Toji Fushiguro. And let's just say, if it weren't for him, the strongest wouldn't be the strongest. If you know, you know. But anyways, back to Maki. We're gonna fast forward a bit to present day Maki, and to briefly explain, she's been through it. She's burned, scarred, and she barely survived a fight with a tough cursed spirit. And despite all this, she's already focused on her next mission, which is to retrieve cursed tools from her family, which also happens to be the very same people that despise her existence. But surprisingly, when she gets there, there's no pushback. Well, maybe except for her mom, who tells her to turn around. But Maki being Maki, she ignores her. And guess what she finds when she walks in there? Her twin sister Mai bleeding out. And standing beside her, her father Ogi Zenin, who reveals to Maki that he only lured her there to kill her and her sister. After Maki realizes this is a trap, she immediately goes after her dad. They fight for a bit, but he makes quick work of her, and she ends up passing out after being heavily wounded. The father of the year then throws both of his daughters into a pit of cursed spirits to die. As they laid there in their own pools of blood awaiting death, Mai uses her innate technique called construction, which allows her to create objects out of nothing. And with all her remaining energy, she creates a cursed blade. But it comes at a cost though. Mai sacrifices her life. And in doing so, she frees Maki, meaning no more shared soul, no more limits. But before dying, she tells her with her dying breath, destroy it all.